Right, so I've got my two bits of deck, and what I need to do is line them up, and I'm going to put dowel joints in here. So I've put them in to line them up. I draw a line across here, and when I take them out of the boat, then I can drill the dowels and make sure I've got the right spot. So it's raining outside, so I've got to put this on the inside, which is a bit of a pain really. So my intention is to dowel it, to use a dowel joint, cut it off, drill 2 holes across, which is why I marked them off. The only thing you've got to do is get the actual holes dead straight, so that's actually dead in line with that. That's harder than you think. Getting my measuring gauge out. Hopefully it should be 12. Yeah, give or take. Okay. To me it looks a bit big, but drew a test hole. Yeah, it's too loose though. Got to say, even when you're looking at 12mm dowel and a 12mm drill, it's probably always good practice not to use the exact diameter. That's better. Genau. Okay. Okay, here's one that I made earlier. So this is jig. Hopefully it'll work, but what I've done is take that out. So I want to drill straight, so it's not going up or down, right? So this dowel goes in. I don't want it sort of to point up or down. So the idea is to have a straight hole through here. So I drill the hole the width of the drill bit. So that's exactly the drill bit. That will then hopefully spin, guide it nice and straight whichever way I do it. That's obviously got to go in there. So what I need now is a piece of wood there and a piece of wood there to jam it against that, nice and straight, and then hopefully just a case of drilling, going in and out, and that's 5mm, 5 centimeters, sorry. You'll never know, it might work. That'll stop it going against that when I turn it upside down. Start drilling. This is close as I'm going to get it. So hopefully that will work. Okay. once that works, what I didn't do was line that up with a centre. I've got the wrong centre line. Okay, time to fit it, but it's chucking down the rain. So. Fit before. Typical. Sorted. Stage 2. So I know I've got the dowels in there, but I'm going to do a bit of belt and braces again. I'm not happy with the joint, so I'm going to put one of these in with my stainless steel screws. easy. So, look what happens when you fiberglass in the dark and you start rushing. Look at that. Absolute nightmare. So I've got to take all this off now. Start again. Stitching time and all that. What I don't want is a dint in the middle. I've got one. Classic. It's got to do the same on the other side. Okay, so again another massive job. I thought it was going to be easy, but I had to fill these in at the back, and then I had to sort of round off the corners so I can put the fiberglass along the edges to make it a nicer finish. put it stick as best I can to the sides. Don't have to do that, I suppose, but I just wanted to make it as good a joint as I possibly can. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to fiberglass the sides, one run all the way around, then do the whole floor. I've redrawn my wiring diagram now. The reason why I redrew it is because of the type of fuse board I'm getting. Rather than having the separate positive stud and negative bus bars, is the one I've got is actually all included. Okay, so what I've got, he says, when I get rid of that. Okay, so what have I got? You've got the starter and leisure battery. They both go to the battery switch terminal. From the battery switch terminal you can switch between 1 and 2 or both. Both when you're stuck and you need power. Either one, obviously, you'd normally select the leisure battery, the one that you can run all your instruments off. And your starter battery is normally reserved. If you have it on both though, and you charge in the system via the outboard, so the outboard actually, there is a positive link there to the outboard, which is basically the alternator can actually charge the battery. So that can go into either 1, 2 or both. So you've got a positive feed to your outboard, you've got a positive feed to the positive bus bar, and you've also got a positive feed to the bilge pump. So I've put this separate because I don't want this to be affected by any of the switching or the ignition, etc. So this is basically a direct feed. What I could do is put this side of the battery, the bilge pump, as opposed to on the battery switch, because obviously with the battery switch turned off, then there's actually no power getting to it. So I'd always have to leave it on one. However, saying that, I'm going to be trailering this boat, so I'm not necessarily going to be leaving it with batteries connected. However, saying that, if I was going to leave it on a mooring, for example, I'd actually select I'd connect this direct to one of the positive feeds of the battery. The bilge pump has got a float switch, so that's independent, and the negative runs back. So the negative side of life, you've got a negative to the outboard, so ground, that comes in, the bilge pump also links into that. Both batteries, negative, come up to the negative bus bar. And here we've got the negative bus bar there. So all the negatives related to the negative bus bar, obviously all the positives to the positive bus bar. This is the fuse panel. There are some items that I don't need a switch, so the ones that I don't need a switch are directly wired into the fuses, and anything that I do need a switch on, obviously wired into the fuse as well. Because I've got a 10 gang fuse board, I've just fused everything, which sort of makes it easy really. So what you've got on the switches, I've got my nav lights, my anchor light, my deck light, and 2 spares. So the switches, obviously the negatives, all the negatives go to the varying points, like the lights. I'll keep it that way. On direct to the fuse board, I've got the fish finder, the VHF, radio, 12 volt socket, the horn, and a spare. That's basically for the likes of a chart plotter or a fish finder, either way. And I've got the horn directly into the fuse well, because that's got its own switch basically, because the switch in itself would be up here. I haven't shown the switch on the horn, but you can take it for granted that obviously we all know that it needs one. It's got its own switch rather. And then from the switching panel, you go to the switch, negative and positives to the port starboard anchor light and the deck light. So that's it really. When I look at the amount of wiring that I need, there's actually going to be a 10-foot run between the positive stud and the battery terminal. So that's about 4 meters, and apparently it's about a 3% drop in amps. So it depends on what size wire you get. So what I'm going to be using, rather than 25mm wire, which is the suggested, well, the most common rather, battery wire that you can use, I think in American terms it's AWG4. I'm going to use 35mm, which is actually AWG 1 or 2, I believe, if you go the American route. And most of the stuff on the internet is American, but it's really hard to find it in English, so to speak. But I've got 35mm wire basically because it's about 250 amps, so I don't think I've got any problems with that. More than enough, but because I've got the run, it's for an extra, what, 10-20 quid. You might as well buy thicker wire if you've got a longer run. I've worked out that I need about 11 meters of each of the 1mm wire that I'm going to be using, 1 amp wire. It's actually, it can do about 1.4, I think, or yeah, I think it's something like that anyway. But it's 1mm wire, It gives more than enough amps that I need for everything that I'm running off it, and the likes of the fish finder, etc. It's already got its own wire onto it, so I don't need to worry about that. So I need 4 meters of red and black battery wire, 35mm, and 11 meters of red and black 1 amp. And that is going to be my wiring diagram for about